Something powerful happens when humans are pushed to the edge. They stop building pretty. They start building smart. In the Middle Ages, danger didn't always arrive with warning bells. It came with raiders, with soldiers, with fire. And when the world above ground became unsafe, medieval people didn't run away. They went down, quietly, cleverly, and they built hidden underground dugouts so well disguised that many are still being discovered today. Welcome back to Ancient Roots Uncovered. This is one of those stories where survival engineering meets human instinct. No castles, no thrones, just ordinary people carving secret worlds beneath their feet. Hidden shelters born from fear and intelligence. Medieval dugouts weren't random holes. They were carefully planned survival structures built for concealment, storage and escape. Most were dug near homes, barns, forests or hillsides where soil could be removed quietly and entrances could vanish into everyday life. A trapdoor under straw, a covered pit beneath a hearth, a narrow tunnel behind a woodpile. The goal wasn't comfort, it was invisibility. These spaces were used during raids, invasions, forced taxation and local wars. Families hid themselves, farmers hid food, villages hid tools, seeds and valuables. Some dugouts were temporary bolt holes, others became long-term underground rooms expanded over years. The earth itself became their shield. Medieval builders understood soil better than many modern people assume. They avoided loose sand that collapsed and hard stone that exposed noise and light. The best ground was firm clay or compacted earth. It could be carved. It held shape. It resisted water when layered properly. They chose slopes, hills and raised ground whenever possible. This allowed horizontal digging instead of straight-down pits, reducing flooding and making hidden entrances easier. Hillsides also allowed smoke vents and air shafts to exit far from the main opening. Before metal tools were common, people tested ground with wooden probes and shallow shafts. If the soil stayed firm and dry after rain, digging began. Building a hidden dugout wasn't just engineering, it was secrecy. Most digging happened at night or during normal farming noise, so the sound blended into daily life. Soil wasn't piled near the site. That would expose everything. Instead, dirt was spread across fields, dumped into rivers, used in gardens, or carried out in sacks over weeks. Tools were simple: iron spades, wooden shovels, pickheads, antler and bone wedges in earlier periods. The work was slow, but slow meant quiet, and quiet meant survival. Passages were kept narrow, usually just wide enough for shoulders. This reduced collapse risk and made discovery harder. Underground rooms were often carved last, after escape tunnels and emergency shafts were complete. Soil presses like water. Without support, it kills. Medieval builders solved this with timber frames, stone linings, and packed clay walls. Oak beams were common because they resisted rot and insects. Walls were sometimes stacked with dry stone and then plastered with clay to seal air gaps. Ceilings were arched whenever possible. Even crude curves dramatically increased strength. Where arches weren't possible, thick crossbeams were placed close together, then layered with branches, straw and clay before being buried again. In deeper dugouts, builders carved shelves, alcoves and sleeping ledges directly into the earth. Every curve reduced pressure points. Every edge was rounded. Collapse was the enemy. Air meant life, but air shafts meant discovery. So medieval dugouts used these thin ventilation tunnels that, snaked upward and exited far from the main chamber. These openings were often hidden inside hollow tree stumps, hedges, animal pens, and even rock piles. Some were no wider than a fist. But honestly, that was enough. To prevent light from giving them away, the shafts bent sharply inside the earth. Fresh air flowed in, but smoke did not. Inside the chambers, small oil lamps or resin torches were used, but only sparingly. Soot stains, found in medieval dugouts today, well, they prove just how carefully fire was controlled. Too much smoke meant suffocation. Too much heat meant detection. Some dugouts even used layered reed mats over the vents to filter smoke and, disguise the scent. Medieval people understood airflow in ways that feel almost modern. Water was a constant threat. Dugouts that flooded, well, they became graves. Floors were sloped, and shallow drainage channels were carved along the walls. Gravel layers were placed under packed clay floors to absorb any seepage. In wetter regions, pits were dug below the main chamber to act as water traps, keeping living spaces dry. Entrances were never placed at the lowest point. They were built higher, forcing water away instead of into the shelter. Some tunnels even had raised thresholds, a bit like underground doorsteps, to stop runoff. These details, really, they separated a simple hiding hole from a proper survival structure. Not all medieval dugouts were emergency bunkers. Many were, hybrid spaces. Some served as cold storage rooms where food stayed preserved all year round. During times of conflict, families hid below ground while soldiers passed above. Grain, salted meat and tools were stored in sealed alcoves. Archaeological finds show rope loops in ceilings, likely used to hang food away from damp floors and rodents. In a world without banks, freezers, or safe borders, underground meant control. Imagine, if you will, weeks in near darkness, limited air, whispered voices, no fires, no certainty. Medieval dugouts weren't just engineering projects, they were emotional tests. People built them knowing they might one day crouch inside while their homes burned above. And yet they still carved sleeping ledges, still smoothed walls, still shaped door frames, because even in hiding, humans build spaces that feel human. Modern construction keeps exposing forgotten dugouts beneath fields, forests, and towns. Many were sealed intentionally after danger passed. Others collapsed slowly and vanished into the soil. Their survival is a testament to medieval building skill. These weren't desperate holes, they were engineered shelters made by people who understood earth, pressure, air, and secrecy. Long before blueprints, long before concrete, they built with instinct, observation, and necessity, and it worked. If this hidden side of medieval life surprised you, that's exactly why Ancient Roots Uncovered exists. To bring back the forgotten intelligence of the past and show how much strength lived in ordinary hands. If you want more stories like this, more buried knowledge, more survival wisdom carved into history, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who loves the strange, the ancient and the unexplained. And stay curious, because the ground beneath us is still full of stories waiting to breathe again.